Okay, let's try this. Can you guys hear me? Wait for it. Okay, excellent. Okay, so we've solved that problem. Let's get live chat open. The issue was that I had actually not given permission within Streamlabs to use my microphone. Actually, in this case, Monkey, I will agree. Fucking PCs. That said, I'd have had the same problem with an Apple. So, also, you know, apples keep me awake. Okay, the audio is as bad as my Discord mic. LOL. Is the audio choppy? No. Messy? Very smooth? Okay. I will now make the audio worse by messing with the mic just a little bit. Okay. Now that I am loud. Okay, so I'm not quiet this time. No? Excellent. Okay. Now, 15 minutes late, so we'll run a 15-minute long. Very first thing I need to show you guys is my second screen, which is my friend the Shademaster has created a new web page for his new Shades of Dominion tabletop role-playing game. This game is based loosely, or I suppose not loosely, but it's essentially you can turn... no, you see why I beat one. I'm not an Apple man at all. I prefer anything that is simple to use and doesn't cost me an arm and a leg or get made by Chinese slave labor. So basically I might as well be carving on stone. That said, no, I'm not a fan of either one, and I am far more comfortable with PCs. YF23. I'll have a look at that later, Kingdom. If you want to shoot me a DM on Discord with an image of it, I'd love that. In any case, I just want to shill my buddy's RPG and his new webpage, which is theshadesofdominion.com. But let's move on to the meat of the matter here, which is this story for the beginning. This is the Eco Knob who's featured in the thumbnail. And actually, while I'm doing that, I'm also going to shill out if I can. If everything freezes, I do apologize. You see why Beta 1 has a bit of bias towards Apple products. Can't say I necessarily blame them. But too loud? Okay. In any case, I don't need to shill this to Twitter, which is wonderful. However, I do want to give you guys a bit of a heads up. I have ended my MeWe, my... Those pages are still up. I'm going to leave them up until those particular entities decide to pull them down. Because all I've done is log out and I'm not using those pages anymore. I'm getting zero engagement there, and it just seems a waste of my energy and time to direct you guys there. So my Twitter, Getter, Gab, and what's this one? Subscribestar, of course, are still available. I'm just waiting for the internet to catch up here. But in the meantime, while I'm waiting for those pages to come up so I can do the actual shilling, let's talk about this absolute twit. This guy in Germany decided it was a good idea to, and bear with me, I do want to play this, but I know it's in the right there. Okay. So let me see if I can get this to skip around properly. It's being a little slow today. Yeah, my computer is extremely underpowered for what I'm doing. Happy New Year's, everybody. Any of that? I just said thank you for reminding me to say Happy New Year to everybody. Wow, this is being very slow. In any case, hopefully everything is running smoothly on the stream end. So the police were forced to cut up the road to remove, as they call him, an eco-zealot. I prefer eco-knob, because that's a bit of a Newfoundlanderism. But apparently he got smart-ish, and used sand and superglue to stick his hand to the ground. Some lovely footage of the road workers cutting him free, where they are wearing ear protection, and I don't recall if they gave him any. Thank you, Monkey, for reminding everyone to like the video. I do appreciate that. It is taking a significant amount of time than I expected. So I will ask all of you guys also to shill to your friends, family, people you actually like, people you don't actually like. If all else fails, you can always just inflict me on them. As it is, I'm going to myself and just open up one of my other pages here, which I hope will open fairly quickly. In any case, just to move along, let me see if I can get this to skip. Okay, there we go. A couple of quick skips here should show us this lovely individual's face, and you can draw your own conclusions about what kind of lifestyle he leads based on that. But to say the least, he's definitely a winner, and he's holding his win right there in his right hand. But just to move along, let's bring up... Oh, yeah. But as you can see, the police were forced to dig up the road to remove his hand after he stuck himself to tarmac using sand mixed with superglue during a climate protest in Germany. Himself to a road in Mainz, had to have the tarmac removed after emergency workers were unable to free him. I'm guessing the emergency workers were not given permission to amputate, which... fine. This fellow is apparently a member of, and I'm probably going to butcher the German here, so Monkey, if you want to correct me, Letzte Generation, Germany's version of Just Stop Oil. So power tools had to be brought out to cut out the area around his hand, while a video of the event shows several failed attempts at dissolving and filing away the glue. I will point out that attempting to file sand that's been mixed with superglue is probably pointless. And as you can see, they were cutting him free, and it doesn't appear that he was given any sort of hearing protection during the procedure. So, you know, bear that in mind, eco-activists. Leitze. Okay, thank you, Monkey. In any case, yeah, you can see a much larger picture of this genius right here. I'm surprised he still has this part of his pinky, to be honest. The man did not appear to be arrested after the fact, and the eco-group Leitze Generation, I assume it's Generation, or whatever the German pronunciation is, posted a picture of him afterwards. So not only did he turn himself into a victim of his own stupidity, he's now been made a poster child for stupid eco-terrorists the world over. Congratulations. The fact that he wasn't arrested really bothers me. Yes, I understand that you have the legal right, and let me just get my pretty face back here for a second. I understand you have the legal right to protest in a democratic country, and should be encouraged to, in fact, because when your government does something you don't agree with, you should absolutely have the right to take to the street and go, okay, fuckfaces, what do you think you're doing? The problem comes when you do things like... Now, granted, in the trucker convoy, they interfered with people. However, the level of interference was moderated. Once they were approached and requested to provide an opening for emergency vehicles, they freed a lane. Immediately. There was no argument, there was no pushback from the protesters at all, as far as I am aware. They simply said, you have a reasonable point, we're trying to make a point, we can make it without actually putting people's lives at risk. Whereas these groups like Just Stop Oil, Leitze Generation, he should have been left till he germinated, but that's beside the point. Maybe they would have grown something better from the compost. But my feeling is that you have the right to protest, and you absolutely should be empowered to protest. But in a protest, if you're trying to make a point that people are in danger, for example, as these eco-terrorists are, then the very last thing you should be doing is putting other people's lives in jeopardy. Now, that's pretty much the last I want to spend. Germans pronounce the E at the end of a word as A, because Germans are retarded. Okay, fair. I'm not unwilling to agree with that. So, we're going to move on from that, and we're actually going to do a bit of good news today. Because the other part of this stream is, as you can see from the thumbnail and the description, it's a hashtag HFY. And that means humanity, fuck yeah. And it's one of those rare instances where the internet gives you an absolute gift. In this case, I'm going to talk about a real achievement that you appear to have accomplished. We've apparently got nuclear fusion to work. Now, I've only skimmed this article briefly, but what we appear to have is that the U.S. scientists have apparently carried out the first nuclear fusion experiment to achieve a net energy gain. What that means is you are actually achieving the point of nuclear fusion, which is to give more energy out than you put in. If we can get that to a sustainable level, something we can use constantly, then we start to approach the, how was it put, the lack of scarcity, or post-scarcity world of Star Trek, where resources have approached infinity, or at least infinite reusability. The experiment took place at the government-funded Lawrence Livermore National Library Laboratory in California, where researchers used a process known as inertial confinement fusion. And cited 3 people with knowledge of the experiment's preliminary results. The test involved bombarding a pellet of hydrogen plasma with the world's largest laser to trigger a nuclear fusion reaction, the same process which takes place in the sun. Now, those of you who are aware of the fact that the sun is eventually going to burn out are going to feel the same way as I do. Is this really... Like, I do have cautious doubts about this. But at the same time, the fact that we've made this achievement of actually producing energy, and as you can see here, they produced 2.5 megajoules of energy, which is roughly 120% of the 2.1 that went in. That's a good sign. The fact that you can produce more energy than you put in is very good. Lomax Designs. So how long until we make a bomb out of this? That's a good question. And let's see. Kingdom of Finland. I think the only way socialist economics could work is in a post-scarcity society. It's absolutely the only way socialist economics could work. The problem is socialist politics can never work because you can't make everyone equal. You can give them equal opportunities. You cannot give them equal outcomes because people are different genetically. I know, it's a terrible, terrible, horrible thing to say, but it's true. But just to move over to the slightly less real, or at least the slightly more science fiction-y stuff. But before I do that, I actually do have a few really wonderful stories I want to share. For example, this is from Bored Panda. This is, let me check, I believe it's 50 weird cool facts about people. Yeah, 50 weird facts about the world that might give you a fresh perspective. In other words, I kind of think of it as ways to get your faith in humanity back. So, Syndrome K was a fake disease made up by Italian doctors to save Jews who had fled to their hospitals seeking protection from the Nazis. They were quarantined, and the Nazis believed it was a deadly, disfiguring, and highly contagious illness. Okay, yeah, good job. This one here actually is really touching. A Chinese farmer who quit school in the 3rd grade spent 16 years teaching himself law in order to sue a chemical company for polluting his village. Now, how effective that might be in China, it's a good question. But Wang Enlin couldn't afford to buy all the law books he needed, so he studied at a local bookstore, paid the store in bags of corn to let him sit and read, copied all the information by hand, and learned what he could with the help of a dictionary. And he ended up winning the case 5 years ago. Well, in 2017, which might be 6 years ago now. This one here, a guy named Dale Schroeder grew up poor in Iowa, never married, had no children, and worked as a carpenter at the same company for 67 years and only owned 2 pairs of jeans. Spent his entire life savings to send 33 students to college. It's a good man. This one here, a group of women called the 9 Nanas, kept a secret for decades that not even their husbands knew. For 30 years, they met at 4 o'clock in the morning and anonymously paid bills and bought clothes for people in need. Each care package came with a homemade pound cake and a note that read, "Somebody loves you." Another good one here. On October 24th, 1975, the women of Iceland went on strike for equal rights. Now, I know the attitude of most of my audience towards feminism. However, in this case, I kind of agree. 90% of women walked off their jobs and out of their homes, shutting down the entire country. The men could barely cope. Well, the next year, Parliament passed a law guaranteeing equal pay. 5 years later, Iceland elected the world's first female president. Now Iceland has the highest gender equality in the world, and one of the worst economies, but we'll leave that alone. But the part of this that is actually really important is that they were actually on strike for equal pay, which is fair treatment under the law. I absolutely agree. Dolly Parton, this one is absolutely wonderful. Dolly Parton has a program that will mail your child a free age-appropriate book once a month from birth to age 5. No obligation, no catch. She just wants to make sure that every child has books. You wouldn't expect that from someone with this face. Let me see. This one is just touching. They say money doesn't grow on trees, but there's a dog in Colombia that would certainly argue with that. The clever pooch started paying for biscuits with tree leaves after seeing students pass banknotes to a food stall attendant in exchange for the tasty treats. He apparently decided to try it for himself one day, and after getting the result he wanted, he's been doing it ever since. I'm sorry, someone needs to breed that dog, because that's one of the most intelligent ones I've ever heard of. A single gay man named Luca Trabanese from Italy adopted a baby girl with Down syndrome after more than 20 families rejected her. Being a single gay man, he was told by social services that he would only be given a child with an illness, a severe disability, or behavioral problems, which I think is a little bit discriminatory, but we'll leave aside my attitude towards gay adoption as it is. He said, "Since I was 14 years old, I have volunteered and worked with the disabled, so I felt I had the right knowledge and experience to do it." Which is fine. He has the experience. He has the background. Absolutely good. When I first held her in my arms, I was overcome with joy. I felt she was my daughter straight away. And that's fine. This one is absolutely hilarious. A millionaire announced he would bury his Bentley for his afterlife. After lots of negative reaction, he revealed the publicity stunt about organ donations. People bury things that are much more valuable than cars, and nobody seems to care. And, of course, because it wouldn't be one of mine without a fiery animal. A cow once escaped a slaughterhouse by smashing through a metal fence and breaking the arm of a man that tried to catch her. She swam alone to an island where she lives alone. Yep, this is one for the nonce watchers. Father who beat man to death for raping his 5-year-old daughter faces no charges in Texas. Yeehaw. Steve Buscemi. This is a piece of very interesting trivia. I didn't know until I read this. I knew Steve had been a firefighter. I didn't know about this. Actor Steve Buscemi was a New York City firefighter from 80 to 84. The day after the 9/11 attacks in New York, he returned to his old firehouse to volunteer. He worked 12-hour shifts for several days alongside other firefighters, searching for survivors in the rubble of the World Trade Center. That's a good man. Speaking of good men, A middle school in Dallas organized a Breakfast with Dads event and then realized some students lacked father figures. So the school made a Facebook post asking for 50 volunteers. The next morning, 600 men showed up to help out. Excuse me. A woman named Joyce Diane became famous in the 50s for becoming the first woman to win the game show The $64,000 Question, despite the fact that the show's producers did not want her to win and deliberately gave her questions they perceived to be beyond her ability, which she answered correctly anyway. 2 surgeons, after successfully removing a set of brain tumors during a 32-hour surgery. I imagine the moment someone said close, they went, okay. It's nice to see one of them is actually holding up 2 fingers to say, yeah, no, we're okay. What's this one? Alabama husband saved his wife's life by donating a kidney after spending a year dieting and exercising to get his blood pressure low enough for surgery. This one is particularly touching. Mr. Rogers, who probably ought to be a role model for every single one of us, personally answered his fan mail. A 5-year-old blind girl once wrote him and asked him to say when he was feeding his fish because she was worried about them and could not see. From that moment on, every time he fed the fish, he said it out loud. Now, I remember watching this when I was pretty young and wondering why he was saying it out loud. So that's pretty cool. I think we're coming to the last of them now. After needing 13 liters of blood for surgery at the age of 13, a man named James Harrison pledged to donate blood once he turned 18. It was discovered that his blood contained a rare antigen that cured rhesus disease. He made over 1,000 donations throughout his lifetime and saved over 2.4 million unborn babies from the condition. One for Bezic here. Let's see. Doodlebug, an orphaned baby kangaroo, was found abandoned on the side of the road when he walked up to a human, held out his arms, which is a little bit of an anthropomorphization, and asked to be picked up. His researcher later gave him a teddy bear, and he wouldn't stop hugging it. Or, depending on how you feel about that picture on the right, molesting it. This one. This is a very good young man. This is Anthony Borges, 15. He used his body to hold a classroom door shut, protecting 20 other students inside as the gunman fired through the door, hitting him 5 times. And the author and myself hope he had a speedy recovery. Excuse me. When Anais Bordier saw a YouTube video of Samantha Futerman, who looked exactly like her, she Facebook messaged her and discovered they were both adopted and born on the same day. It turns out they were identical twins separated at birth, who had found each other through happenstance and social media. That's pretty cool. This is just a cute picture of a sleeping elephant family. I'll wait for the next one. I know. I'm enjoying the lag before you figure out what's coming. The look on my girlfriend's face is absolutely worth leaving that on screen for a few seconds. It's very cute, isn't it? Okay. It took 96 weeks and thousands of volunteers to clean up Versova Beach in Mumbai, India. The payoff? Hundreds of thousands of sea turtles hatching this week. First time in decades. In 2013, a homeless man named Billy Ray Harris found a $4,000 engagement ring in his beggar's cup. A woman had accidentally dropped it while giving him some change. She returned 2 days later, and he gave the ring back. In thanks, she set up a fund with the goal of raising $4,000 for him. It ended up making over $185,000. And that, my friends, is why you do good things for people, because sometimes good things come back to you. Dr. Barry J. Marshall, this was the guy I mentioned yesterday on the stream. He was convinced that H. pylori caused stomach ulcers, but no one believed him. Since it was illegal to test his theory on humans, he drank the bacteria himself, not exactly an advisable thing to do, developed ulcers within days, treated them with antibiotics, and went on to win the Nobel Prize. Those of you who know who this man is are going to wonder, why the hell is he holding a guitar? Yeah, it's a rare thing to see Billy Joel playing guitar. Billy Joel never sells tickets to the front rows of his concerts. Aside from wanting to beat the scalpers, he got tired of all the bored rich people staring up at him. So now he sends his road crew out to bring down the fans from the worst seats. So there will be people in the front row that are really happy to be there, real fans. And that was a quote from Mr. Joel. This one's a bit strange. There's some issue here. Apparently these guys are wearing police uniforms. So, after a woman was taken to the hospital with hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, 2 paramedics, apparently these are police, not paramedics, which the gun on this fellow's hip would probably allude to. But 2 individuals stayed behind to prepare dinner for the 5 kids who were still in the house. Afterwards, they also did the dishes. And that's from the Netherlands, supposedly. And as you can see here, not paramedics, they're wearing police uniforms. And the gun is a bit of a giveaway. In 2017, a homeless man named Elmer Alvarez found a $10,000 check on the street meant for a successful real estate broker, Roberta Hosky. Although Alvarez was broke, he still found a way to track down Hosky to return her lost check. So touched by his honesty, Hosky rewarded the honest man with a place to live and arranged for a job interview with one of her business partners. A year later, he was on the board of directors for Hosky's Outreach Foundation, which helps provide affordable housing for low to moderate income families. And I agree with Loving Life, that is definitely wholesome. This one actually really makes great sense. Boston College has a policy that says employees' kids can attend for free as long as they get accepted. One janitor had 5 kids who all got in, and he ended up saving nearly $700,000 in tuition. Now, granted, the price of tuition at Boston College is probably too fucking high, but that's really awesome, too. I like this one. A super dad creates beeping Easter eggs for his visually impaired daughter so she can participate in Easter egg hunts. An Australian guy named Bill Morgan was declared dead for 14 minutes. He somehow survived. To celebrate his survival, he bought a scratch card and won a $27,000 car. The media news asked him to reenact the scratch card moment, so he bought another card and won a $250,000 jackpot. The universe's way of apologizing to the guy. This one, Coco and Robin Williams met in 2001, and he made her smile for the first time in over 6 months. When Williams died in 2014, Coco overheard the news and signed the word cry. We'll leave the validity of that alone. Studies show that cats understand human commands, but just don't care to follow them. It seems fair. This one is actually pretty neat. A homeowner turned his sprinklers on before leaving to escape a Kansas wildfire, and this is what he came home to. Those of you who are Never-Ending Story fans will be touched by this one. This horse was stuck in the mud. Its owner, Nicole Graham, held its head for 3 hours until help arrived, so it would not suffocate. And those of you who are tech junkies will probably already recognize Hedy Lamarr. She was once dubbed the most beautiful woman in the world. Definitely an appellation she deserved. She was also a mathematician and inventor of frequency hopping spread spectrum, a technology used for Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. Her idea was brushed off, others took credit for it, and she spent her life wishing people would notice her brains instead of just her beauty. This is a place I want to go eat. There's a restaurant in New York called Enoteca Maria that doesn't employ chefs, but employs grandmas. Every day, a different grandma from around the world designs a fresh menu honoring her native cuisine. That sounds amazing. In 2014, a 3-year-old girl survived 11 days in the Siberian forest infested with bears and wolves with only her dog for company. She ate wild berries and drank from a river, curling up next to her dog for warmth. She was saved when her dog went back to her village and guided rescuers to her. This one. When Gordon Ramsay filmed one of his cooking shows in a prison, he challenged an inmate to an onion chopping competition. The inmate won. When he was released, Ramsay hired him to work in one of his restaurants. A Russian couple were reunited after being separated for 60 years. They were married for 3 days when the husband left to join the Red Army. They were unable to find each other until 60 years later when they randomly visited their hometown on the same day. In the U.S., if your dog needs a kidney transplant, you can take one from a stray animal. The only stipulation is that you adopt the donor animal afterwards, so that 2 lives are saved, rather than 1 lost to kidney disease and 1 to euthanasia. This one is... In 2015, a father saved his son's life when doctors wrongly declared him brain dead and were taking him off life support. He barricaded himself with a gun in the hospital and had a standoff with SWAT until his son squeezed his hand. The son later made a full recovery. I think we've all established how Bob Ross was a good man. Bob Ross used to receive up to 200 letters from fans every day. When regular letter writers fell out of touch, he would phone them just to see if they were okay. Boobs. In 1955, Playboy ran a story that depicted a future where homosexuality was the norm, heterosexuality was outlawed, and anti-straight mobs marched the streets. Outraged letters poured in. Hef supposedly responded, if it was wrong to persecute heterosexuals in a homosexual society, then the reverse was wrong too. And it's starting to swing around to being more like that story, isn't it? This one is kind of touching. In 2009, 4 inmates saved a prison guard from another inmate. They saved the guard because he treated them with respect. Here's a bit of classical musical trolling. Mozart disliked a performer named Adriana Ferrarese del Bene. So, knowing her tendency to drop her chin on low notes and throw her head back on high ones, Mozart wrote a song with constant leaps from low to high in order to make her head, quote, bob like a chicken on stage. Sylvester Stallone still has the turtles from the original Rocky movie. They are now over 40 years old. An 18-month-old German Shepherd named Luna fell off a boat in the Pacific Ocean, swam 2 miles to a nearby island, and survived for 5 weeks by eating mice before she was rescued by a team of Navy staffers. She was found to be slightly undernourished, mice not being particularly good food, but in perfect condition otherwise. This one is absolutely hilarious. In honor of Colonel Sanders' famous secret blend of 11 herbs and spices, KFC's Twitter account only follows all 5 Spice Girls and 6 different guys named Herb. When a Twitter user noticed this and pointed it out, KFC sent him a painting of himself holding a drumstick while riding piggyback on the Colonel. And this should be the last one. Excuse me. When Matt LeBlanc auditioned for the role as Joby Tribbiani, he only had $11. When the cast got their paychecks, the first thing he bought was a hot dinner. And that is the last of those. Okay. Now, yep, we covered that one as well. Now, one of the things that I really like about the... let's have a talk with chat real quick before I go back to... oops, wrong button. Okay. Let me see, where did I fall away from chat? Cut it out. Yes, all together. Okay, there we are. So yes, I accidentally did disconnect my cam by mistake, which left a very interesting still shot on online. Let me see. Yep, you see why Beta1 points it out. The video froze on me making... It wasn't so much an angry face as a focused face. I can see how you'd have the confusion. Let's see. Everybody celebrating because my audio came back. Let's see. YF23. New Year's. Lomax Design says, this is brilliant. I might start helping out the Econobs. I shall invest in adhesives. And yet again, I'll thank Monkey for correcting me on my pronunciation of Leitze. Lomax says it's very laggy on his end. Just an issue for you. Generally not. I tend to, because I'm in Newfoundland, my internet tends to be dog shit laggy as hell. Let me see. Germans pronounce the E at the end of the word. Monkey says he can't believe they didn't illegally invoke emergency war powers to prevent people protesting them. The world has come a long way since 2020. Yeah. Lomax did. Yeah, you did ask a question that I really didn't want to answer because it would bring down the mood of the conversation. That said, if we could have made a bomb out of a fusion device by this time, I think we would have. I don't think it necessarily is possible, and it's far easier to make a fission nuke than a fusion one. So, we've had fusion bombs for decades. They were invented during the 60s in the Cold War. Okay, Kingdom points that out. That's a bit of military I didn't know. Let's see. Stormy pointing out how nice things are. Iceland's economy is bad. If I recall correctly, Iceland's economy collapsed about the same time Greece's did. Dolly Parton does believe in the jab, so, you know, 1 for 1. You take what you can get. Let's see. Kingdom, if money is made of paper, which is made of trees, then you could argue money does indirectly grow on trees. Yes, absolutely. Stormy points out, but he should donate the car to the poor. That's a good point. He'd win another $250,000 afterwards. Based cow, absolutely. God bless Texas, again, absolutely. Monkey says, woo, white pills. Well, Monkey, you're not going to provide them. Someone's got to hand them out. Sean Stryker says that Buscemi's been okay. Mr. Rogers was a Marine? Damn. Kingdom says he's petting his cat. Stryker says he trained his cat. I've actually managed to train a cat to follow verbal commands as well. At least one command. And it was about a week or so of continuous, consistent. And when I say consistent, I mean absolutely consistent. There was a cat that frequented the landfill that I was working at. Of course, creatively named Dumpy, and he was there as a Mauser. But he would hop up onto paperwork on the counter when I was filling it out. And, of course, immediately irritated me. So I started right away with hooking the cat under the stomach, picking him up, saying, Dumpy down, and putting him on the floor. Within a week or so, it got to the point where he would hop up, I would look at him and go, Dumpy down, and the cat would get right back down. So, just kept him out of the way while I was working. More than sufficient. Let's see. Humans being based. Some really touching stuff there. Yeah, you guys probably could hear me choking up on a couple of those. Let's see. Sean Stryker says he's at work. Forgot what morning day it was. Woot. Bob Ross was an Air Force vet. Has anyone else noticed how men capable of some of the most horrendous violence on Earth tend to be some of the kindest? Something to be said for badasses. Speaking of badasses, let's have a look at how fucking weird people can actually be. 18 stories that show what humans consider normal is actually very strange. And these are some of the alien person interactions that I absolutely get a kick out of because it makes us space orcs, basically. Alien, I'm sorry, what did you just say your comfortable temperature range is? Human, honestly, we can tolerate anywhere from -40 to 50, but we prefer the 0 to 30 range. Alien, I'm sorry, did you just list temperatures below freezing? Human, yeah, but most of us prefer to throw on scarves or jackets at those temperatures. It can be a bit nippy. Other human, nah mate, I knew this guy in college who refused to wear anything past his knees and elbows until it was -20 at least. Human, yeah, everybody knows somebody like that. Alien, and did you also say 50 Celsius, as in halfway to boiling? Human, ugh, yeah, it sucks. We sweat everywhere, and God help you if you touch a seatbelt buckle, but yeah. Alien, we've got like 50 uninhabitable planets we think you might enjoy. Another post. Alien, you're telling me that you have settlements on islands with active volcanism. Human, well, yeah, I'm not about to tell Iceland and Hawaii how to live their lives. Actually, it's kind of a tourist attraction. Alien, what, the molten rock? Human, well, yeah, it's not every day you see a mountain spew out liquid rocks. The best one is Yellowstone, though. All these hot springs and geysers from the supervolcano. Alien, you actively seek out active supervolcanoes? Human, shit, man, we swim in the groundwater near them. Another, alien, and you say the poles of your world would get as low as -100 with wind chill. Human, yep, with blizzards you can't see through every other day just about. Alien, amazing. When did you manage to send drones that could survive such temperatures? Human, well, actually. Alien, what? Human, we kinda sent people. Alien. Human. Alien, what? Human, we sent. Alien, no, yeah, I heard you. What? You sent humans to a place 100 degrees below freezing. Human, yeah. Alien, and they didn't die? Human, well, the first few did. Alien, people died of the cold and your solution was to send more people? Arctic Foxbear's favorite humans are weird quote. Alien, people died of the cold and your solution was to send more people, aka the history of Russia, aka Arctic exploration, aka the history of Alaska. Let me see. Some of these, I do like these as well, that humans are the scary ones. Fit sometimes. For example, who looked at an elephant, gigantic creature, thoroughly capable of killing someone if it has to, and thought, I'm going to ride on that thing. And put a human near any canine predator, and there's a strong chance of said human yelling, puppy! And initiating playful interaction with it. What about the people who look at whales, bigger than basically everything else, and decide, I'm going to go swim with our splashy danger friends? Heck, for all we know, humans might run into the scariest, toughest aliens out there and say, heck with it, I'm going to hug them. Why? I don't know, gotta hug them. And it's like the first friendly interaction the species has had in forever, so suddenly humanity has a bunch of big, scary alien friends. I like this one. This is a takeoff from the Predator thing. Commander, we must update the code of conduct to include the humans. Why? Are they more aggressive than we anticipated? It seems to be the opposite, Commander. Just this morning, a crewman nearly lost their hand when attempting to stroke an unidentified feline on an unknown world. Their reaction to the attack was to call the creature a, quote, mean kitty, and vow to win it over. Upon inquiry, it seems they bond so readily with creatures outside their species that they have the capacity to feel sympathy for an alien creature they have never seen before, simply because it appears distressed. I hate to say this, Commander, but we must install a rule to prevent them from endangering their own lives when interacting with the galaxy's fauna. I see what you mean. So be it. From now on, no crewman is allowed to touch unknown animals without permission from a superior officer. And send a message to supplies about acquiring one of these puppies, so that their desire to touch furred predators can be safely sated. The next guy says, let's be honest, the humans would ignore the hell out of that rule anyway. There's a couple of really good ones, but I'm actually going to switch over to, I believe it was a Pinterest post. Just wait for that to come up. I'll vamp out of some of these. Seriously, get a supply of safe animals for the humans to bond with, or they will make their own. I mean, they will try to befriend anything that, they come across anyway. But without any permanent pets, they can get creative. Don't even get me started on the time one of them taped a knife to one of our auto cleaners and named it Stabby. Claymore Roomba come to mind, anybody? 3 weeks in, and we finally caught the wretched thing. Half the humans on crew tried to revolt about us, quote, killing the knife. How did you resolve that, sir? Black's Call made a toy knife out of insulation rubber and strapped that on instead. Quite a creative solution, I suppose, and that sated the humans? Worse. They thought it was so funny they made a second one, strapped springs to both and held mock battles. Then decided Stabby and Knifey were in love, and now none of them will allow the others to stage fights between them anymore. To the pin now. Let me just move this over a little bit. Okay, that should be good. Why the humans of Star Trek? Hello, what's going on here? Go away, you. There we go. Why the humans of Star Trek are awesome, insane, and terrifying. And of course, there are 10 comments. I have a second Pinterest one I'll be showing after. Okay, let's see what we got down here. Anything? No, I think it's actually the sidebar I'm looking for. Yes, here we are. Can I bring that up by itself? Let me just see if I can bring this up separately. If I can get away from that. And bear with me while my poor laptop chugs along. We're about 15 minutes from being done as well. Oh dear. Come on, come on, tell me I can bring that up. There we go, okay. Let's close that. So this is one of my favorite threads that I've discovered. It's funny how science fiction universes so often treat humans as a boring, default, everyman species, or even the weakest and dumbest. I want to see a sci-fi universe where we're actually considered one of the most hideous and terrifying species. For example, how do we know our saliva and skin oils wouldn't be ultra-corrosive to most other sapient races? What if we actually have the strongest vocal cords and can paralyze or kill the inhabitants of other worlds just by screaming at them? What if most sentient life in the universe turns out to be vegetable-like and lives in fear of us rare animal races who can move so quickly and chew shit up with our teeth? Like that old story, they're made of meat, only we're scarier. For example, holy shit, they eat capsaicin for fun. You guys, I heard a human once ate an airplane. A human can keep fighting for hours even after you shoot it. Humans are a proud warrior race with a pantheon of bloody gods, Rambo, Schwarzenegger, etc. Removing a limb will not fatally incapacitate a human. Always destroy the head. Warning, humans can detect you even at night by tracking vibrations through the atmosphere. Warning, humans can reproduce at a rate of 1 per space year. Destroy infestations immediately. The human mouth has over 30 outcrops of bone and powerful jaw muscles. Human bites can be fatally infectious, even to other humans. Warning, humans can and will use improvised weapons. See classified data labeled J-Chan. Humans can project bioweapons from almost every orifice on their body. Do not inhale. Oh god, the humans figured out door handles. Oh god, oh god. More seriously, humans do have a number of advantages even over terrestrial life. Among terrestrial life, sorry. Our endurance, shock resistance, and ability to recover from injury is absurdly high compared to almost any other animal. We often use the phrase healthy as a horse to connote hardiness, but compared to a human, a horse is as fragile as spun glass. There's mounting evidence that our primitive ancestors would hunt large prey simply by following it at a walking pace without sleep or rest until it died of exhaustion. It's called pursuit predation. Basically, we're the Terminator. The only other animal that can sort of keep up with us? Dogs. And that's why we use them for hunting. And even then, it's only sort of. Now extrapolate that to a galaxy in which most sapient life did not evolve from hyper-specialized pursuit predators. Our strength and speed is nothing to write home about, but we don't need to overpower or outrun you. We just need to outlast you. And by any other species standards, we just straight up don't get tired. Where a simple broken leg will cause most species to go into shock and die, we can recover from virtually any injury that's not immediately fatal. Even traumatic dismemberment isn't necessarily a career-ending injury for a human. We heal from injuries with extreme rapidity, recovering in weeks from wounds that would take others months or years to heal. The results are not pretty. Humans have hyperactive scar tissue among our other survival-oriented traits, but they're highly functional. Speaking of scarring, look at our medical science. We developed surgery centuries before developing even the most rudimentary anesthetics or life support. In extremis, humans have been known to perform surgery on themselves and survive. Thanks to our extreme hardiness, we regard as routine medical procedures what most other species would regard as inventive forms of murder. We even perform radical surgery on ourselves for purely cosmetic reasons. In essence, we'd be space orcs. I do hope you realize I'm going... Yeah, okay. So here's just to continue on. Our jaws have too many teeth, so we developed a way to weld metal to our teeth and force the bones in our jaw to restructure over the course of years to fit them back into shape. And then we continue to wear metal in our mouths to keep them in place. We formed cohabitative relationships with tiny mammals and insects we keep at bay from bothering us by death, often using little analog traps. And by God, we will eat anything. We use borderline toxic peppers to season our food. We expose ourselves to potentially lethal solar radiation in the pursuit of cosmetically darkening our skin. We risk hearing loss for the opportunity to see our favorite musicians live. We have a game where two people get into an enclosed area and hit each other until time runs out or one of them passes out. We willingly jump out of planes with only a flimsy piece of cloth to prevent us from splattering against the ground. Our response to natural disasters is to just rebuild our buildings in the exact same place. I happen to disagree with that particular practice, but we climb mountains and risk freezing to death simply for bragging rights. We invented dogs. Not 100% correct, but this part is. We took our one-time predators and completely domesticated them. This is true. On a planet full of lions, tigers, and bears, we managed to advance further and faster than any other species on the planet. Klingons and Krogans and orcs ain't got shit on us. And we'll come back to Pursuit Predation before I zip through the chat again. Audio is choppy. That's not good. You getting any chop from the audio? Are you getting any chop from my audio? No? Okay. It might be something where I'm just turning my head a bit too much. So, it's one thing to face down a cheetah, which will slam into you at 60 miles per hour and break your neck. It's another thing to run very quickly to get away from a thing, only to have it kind of just show up. To have it be intelligent enough to figure out where you are by the fur and feather you left behind, your footprints and piss and shit, and then you think you've lost it and you bed down for the night, but there it is, waiting. When you wake up, and you split, again, but it keeps following you, always in the corner of your eye, until you just die. We are scary motherfuckers, okay? Oh. What have I done here now? Okay. Bear with me just 1 second. That's the last thread I want to pop in here. Okay, there we go. I've got my pretty face back on screen. And I'm going to finish my coffee while I do that. Oh, that's gone cold. Ugh. Cold coffee sucks. Unless it's coldest coffee. But refrigerated coffee isn't bad. Let's see now. Jimmy Stewart. Humans being based, white pills. Okay. Yeah, by mistake, yeah. Let me see here. Bob Ross was an Air Force vet. That's, yeah. Being dangerous is greater than being pacifist. Absolutely. Jordan Peterson himself has said that men should be monsters. And by that he means that you should be capable of violence, of harm, and restrain that impulse. As he put it, you can't be a good man if you aren't a dangerous man who chooses not to use that ability. I'm paraphrasing, but you get the idea. And the way I've put it myself is, I'm peaceful, not harmless. And that should be one of the things that men should strive to be. Is peaceful, never harmless. Let me see here. The voice actor for Disney's Bambi was also a Marine, if I'm not mistaken. That's Marku Milikowski. That's extremely interesting. Kingdom of Vinland, I love humans are space orca. Well, space orcs, but space orca kind of sounds slightly terrifying too. And humans, fuck yeah. Yeah. Jimmy Stewart flew bombers in World War II. I didn't know that. UCY Beta 1 says we are pretty crazy things. Yes, we are. Sean Stryker says, read Blizzards and Icebergs file cards in G.I. Joe regards to the Arctic. I'm trying to remember. I think I owned Blizzard when I was a kid. Sean Stryker hugs a xenomorph. You know somebody would try hugging a xenomorph at some point. Let's see. Marku Milikowski. Oh, please. The internet has taught us that the first thought people would have with aliens would be, can I fuck them? Some of us. Yeah. Some of us would absolutely fetishize the xenomorph. Furred Predators sounds like a club in Frisco. UCY Beta 1 says, I'm actually really enjoying this ridiculousness. I am as well. But, like, and this is part of the reason I did it, just to put a smile on everybody's faces for the first day of the new year. But this is so glorious because it's actually pointing out, look at all the wonderful things we are and we have done. Just the term invented dogs, I'm a little iffy on that. There's some research that says that dogs and humans basically created a symbiotic relationship, and then kind of the association goes from there. And I think that's a fair thing. Let me see. Sean says he has to patrol some more. Cheers, guys. Maybe back later. Well, I'll still be going in about 6 minutes, Sean, if you're coming back. And that was about 10 minutes ago you said that, so I'm going to have a quick look and see if you got there. Let's see. Kingdom of Inland says he'd love to live in the Star Trek universe. Depends on where. Personally, I wouldn't want to live anywhere that's likely to be attacked because, well, I'd rather not be vaporized in an unexpected blast of radiation. For example, what was that? The Zindi. Have I ever noticed how frail the Greys or other TV aliens look? It would be like you getting trapped in a room with the Hulk. Yeah. Assuming they're built essentially from the same materials we are, your average Grey is probably a glass-jawed, spindly bundle of sticks that someone like Joe Rogan could absolutely rock through a platoon full of, assuming they don't have some sort of energy weapon or something. Gregory Price says being able to sweat is OP. Yeah, it's definitely a superpower in some cases. For example, I've been in very hot places with very hairy dogs, and I felt very bad for the dogs. Let's see. Kingdom of Inland says it's interesting that where Westman evolved in Ice Age Europe uses the human body's ability to sweat against us. Somewhat. Let's see. Billy is asking if I injured myself like that girl with the knife. No, that's just a horrendous zit that I decided to cover for the camera. Also, I did a little bit of treatment on it, so it's less pretty than it was. Kingdom says it's cutting me out every other word. Is it cutting out? No, you're not noticing it? Okay. Yeah, my girlfriend is here in the room watching the stream. She's not noticing that at all? No? It may be an issue through the line or something. I don't know. Bay State, Jordan Peterson, be monkey or something like that. Yes, return to monkey. Embrace tradition. And Kingdom of Inland says he's not even getting words now, just skipping noises. That's interesting. I'm not getting any sort of warning on my stream or anything like that. Billy says he was so drunk last night he fell off a bike he was riding. Was it your bike? Because he was too drunk to drive. He could barely get up. I was considering having a little sleep. When you start thinking about sleeping on the ground, you're either homeless or too drunk and should go home and stop drinking for a while. In any case, we'll go through one more little thread of humanity, fuck yeah, and then I'm going to get out of here because I've got about 3 minutes. It'll be overtime. Okay. Humanity, fuck yeah. We poison our air and water to weed out the weak. We set off fission bombs in our only biosphere, and we nailed our one true god to a stick. Don't fuck with humanity. God has a hard-on for Marines because we kill everything we see. Sergeant Hartman from Full Metal Jacket. I'm not too sure about this one. I think this might be Warhammer, and it's not really what I'm looking for. So, why we are awesome. We were created and we thrived on all range of extreme environments all over the earth, from the infernal heat of Africa, where everything is trying to kill you all the time, I think you're talking about Australia, to the frigid apocalyptic wastelands of the north and the Ice Age, where survival depended on constant invention and ingenuity. Fuck, the lowest recorded temperature in Canada, which most of America thinks is home to a bunch of pansies, where people live, is about that of Mars, 33.9 million miles further away from the sun than we are. Aliens usually evolved on some herbivore world or become less on their guard due to centuries of living away from nature, not troubled by survival. I don't know about that. Anyway, we'll skip through this just a little bit. I like this one. Xenos, pay attention, you're next. Our species thought we knew war. We built our civilization on foundations of honor and prowess. We were like a rapier, crippling our foes with small yet decisive blows. We killed our enemies, yet we allowed them to surrender. There was no needless killing. That was before the humans came and they showed us the truth, that we were just naive children, and that true war is won through unrelenting cruelty and spite. Despite our warriors' training, despite all our experience, still we fell to the innumerable waves that the humans sent against us. They burned our worlds, slaughtering our children in horrific ways, using them to learn how to kill us more efficiently. After many blood-filled years, these Terran butchers arrived on our home, and they transformed it into a corpse-filled landscape. I tried to take my life, but one of these power-armored animals stopped me. As he leveled his vicious weapon at me, I noticed his face for the first time. His eyes were filled with murderous glee, and his mouth twisted into a sneer as he whispered 3 final words to me. Humanity. Fuck yeah. Do they not know who we are, my brethren? We are the chosen of the Emperor, the scions of Terra. We are dominion, and we are numberless. We are war itself, and the death of all who oppose us. We are humanity, and we shall educate our ignorant foes as to the true meaning of that word. And I'm going to guess this is Warhammer again. This is from Lord Inquisitor Adric Mantell of the Ordo Xenos from Imperial Armor Volume 12, The Fall of Orpheus. Let's move along past the song. Media about humans kicking ass. Here we are. As much as humanity gets its ass kicked in H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, there are moments where humans manage to hold the fucking line against 100-foot-tall murder machines from Mars. In one instance, with the British Army knocking down a tripod with cannon fire. I will point out that this, the original story was set in the late 1800s, early 1900s, if I recall. Certainly the latest would have been the 1930s when the radio show was produced. But the crowning moment must be the scene with the HMS Thunderchild steaming into action, destroying 2 tripods with its gun, and then ramming a 3rd before sinking. The end qualifies as well. Humanity ultimately manages to outlast the invaders because, unlike them, our bodies have built up an immunity to the microscopic life forms that inhabit our planet. Edgar Rice Burroughs' John Carter of Mars. If you haven't seen the movie John Carter, I do recommend it, if only for how unusual it is in terms of the current narrative. But the John Carter of Mars series is one of the earliest examples of this. A Confederate veteran of the American Civil War finds himself on Mars and proceeds to kick everyone's ass, marry a princess, and become chief warlord of the entire planet. Let's see here. Humans are from a death world. Lots of stories here. Independence Day, Starship Troopers, Conan the Barbarian. Conan is actually really interesting because it's a supernatural alien. Because going hand-to-hand combat with a Cthulhu-like demon god and making it run away screaming in fear is the very definition of humanity. Fuck yeah. Remember that Robert Howard and H.P. Lovecraft were friends, and many of the cosmic horror entities that H.P. Lovecraft created are actually canon in Conan's universe, and he banishes them with brute force and axes. Incidentally, Lovecraft, who was pals with Howard, got a few tales where humans beat back the great old ones, namely the Dunwich Horror. Elegant gentlemen professors fight back a huge eldritch demigod. The Call of Cthulhu itself, a badass Norwegian officer ramming Cthulhu's head with his ship. And the Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath, where a dreamer rallies an army of ghouls and night-gaunts to kill lunar toad-like abominations, and then storms Kadath, the residence of the Earth Gods. Let me see, Warhammer 40k, obviously, particularly when it comes to the Imperial Guard, although admittedly humanity occasionally does not fuck yeah here, but then again, here's the awesome. By the not even a galaxy-wide gate to hell has managed to defeat mankind. In fact, the new boss has launched an all-out counter-strike. Star Trek. Yes, somehow. A note. The Mirror Universe episodes, Mirror Mirror, various DS9 and Enterprise episodes, are basically humanity fuck yeah at its best. In the original series, Mirror Universe, everyone is more badass and horny, and mass-killing alien scum who refuse to submit is the order of the day. But get told to make things better and more peaceful by our flawless Prime Universe counterparts. Does that sound like humanity to you? No? Good, because it's not, because fuck that noise. Even their uniforms are more awesome, and sexy. Enterprises in a Mirror Darkly shows the Empire at its most brutal. Starts with Zephyr Cochrane trying the Vulcan salute, only to pull out a shotgun and shoot the Vulcan point blank. From there, they are straight up attacking Tholians. They steal the USS Defiant from various places. Excuse me. This Tumblr thread, is this the one I was looking for? May very well be. And I do agree Tumblr is cancer, generally. But like anything else on the internet, you can find things. Billy Block says he didn't steal the bike. Good job. Let's see. Also, a lot of people died when you destroyed that bridge. I think I've moved along too much. Milk equals bone juice. This is also true. Kingdom of Vinland, terra firma, humanity first, indeed. This is probably not what I'm looking for. Star Trek. No. Okay. In any case, folks, I am over time, and one of the best lines, and I'll leave you with that, is just to have a bit of hope in humanity. From Pacific Rim. Today, we are canceling the apocalypse. In any case, folks, I hope you're all doing very well in the new year. I hope life treats you all very well in the next 365 days. Is this a leap year? I'm not sure either. No, it's an odd number, so it is not a leap year. Yeah, so 364 days. In any case, I hope you all have a good day. I hope you continue to have good days. And, of course, as usual, rise and rise again.